We are now moving to Honorable Modise.
Honorable Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, His Excellency President Ramaphosa, Honorable Deputy Chair and the Chief Whip of National Council of Provinces, Honorable Members, Honorable Premiers and Members of Executive Council, Honorable Speaker of the Gauteng Provincial Legislature, President of SALGA, the delegation from the Molokome family, people of South Africa. Chairperson, the African National Congress has chosen a path of renewal and rebuilding our country. And our President, His Excellency Mr. Ramaphosa, has issued a clarion call to all South Africans to join us on this path as we take steps to strengthen the state capability and building partnership with social partners to improve basic service provision, ensuring the safety and security of South Africans. As we embark on the path of renewal and rebuilding our beloved country, we're also embarking on the path to build an ethical, capable, and developmental state. President Ramaphosa characterized ethical, capable, and developmental state as possessing, and I quote, a public service that is professional and competent. It needs people with skills, experience, foresight, integrity, who must act in the best interest of the people. They must be able to resolve conflict, forge partnership, and build dynamic institutions that go beyond meeting their basic mandates, close quote. The African National Congress was the first to acknowledge the severe impact of state capture, fraud and corruption, which almost hollowed out our democracy, destroyed our public institutions, and undermined our people's confidence in the rule of law. The Constitution of the Republic mandates a high standard of professional ethics in our public sector, and it demands that democratic values and principles, along with standards for professional ethics, govern our public administration. This is why the public sector and its entities are required to establish an audit and risk committee, which plays a crucial role in governance by ensuring accountability, building public confidence, supporting oversight, providing important insights about government policies and programs, and reducing corruption in the public sector. However, some of the public sector audit and risk committee established to play a crucial role in governance nearly succumbed to the state capture. President Ramaphosa has referred some recommendation from the State Capture Commission's report to professional bodies like South African Institute of Chartered Accountants and the Independent Regulatory Board of Auditors, whose members the report identified as enablers and perpetrators of state capture. Allegations surfaced that these practitioners significantly contributed to the manifestation of corruption in various institutions. The African National Congress applauds the South African Institute of Chartered Accountants for having acted swiftly against one of its members, the former SA technical chairperson and a one-time member of the SA board, Yake Kwinana. The South African Institute of Chartered Accountants has charged Ms. Kwinana and found her guilty of 13 of the 14 charges against her. The South African Institute of Chartered Accountants immediately stripped her of her membership, barred her from practicing as a chartered accountant, and fined her 6.1 million. Ms. Kwinana appeared at the Palm Ridge Specialized Commercial Crime Court on Tuesday, 26 November 2024, to face fraud charges, and the court granted a 20,000 bail. This is a clear demonstration that the government is committed to rooting out fraud and corruption in the public sector. The ANC welcomes the measures outlined by the Deputy President, Mr. Paul Mashatile, to strengthen local governance through ensuring technical capacity, but also progress in strengthening the SOE governance. The Deputy President has instructed the Public Service Commission and the National School of Government to assess the capacity of chief financial officers across the 3 spheres of government to initiate programs aimed at enhancing the financial management capabilities. The National Treasury, in collaboration with the Department of Public Services and Administration and the National School of Government, has already implemented a capacity development strategy to address financial management capacity challenges in the private sector and the public sector. We thank the administration and the 7th Parliament for reinstating the National State Enterprise Bill that expired in the 6th Parliament. The National State Enterprise Bill 2024 seeks to formulate a plan for national state enterprises. The bill will be pivotal in future administration of South African state-owned enterprises. The centralized approach will protect state owned firms from undue influence and interventions, since the holding company's board will maintain independence over these enterprises and ensuring monitoring without any influence. Honorable members, the African National Congress is committed to the path of renewal and rebuilding our public service to serve our people. Parliament is considering a number of bills, including the Public Service Commission Bill, the Public Administration Management Amended Bill, and the Municipal Structures Amendment Bill to strengthen professionalization of the public services. Already in 2022, President Ramaphosa's cabinet had approved the national framework for the professionalization of public service to guide public service reform. The framework ensures the recruitment and selection of competent public servants, subjecting them not only to competency-based assessment, but also regular performance management systems once appointed. As the ANC, we fully support the Public Service Commission Bill as it's part of our effort to strengthen the state capacity, improve basic service provision, and ensure the safety of our communities. The bill also seeks to broaden the Public Service Commission jurisdiction to include local municipalities and state-owned entities. Once the bill is approved, it will empower the Public Service Commission to investigate instances of nepotism and malfeasance, not only in the national and provincial government, but also in the local municipality and SOEs. The ANC strongly urges this Parliament to expedite the consideration of the Municipal Structures Amendment Bill, as we cannot tolerate the dysfunctionality of our local municipalities due to the instability of coalition governments. The bill outlines a framework for managing coalition agreements with local governments, guarantee the provision of basic services to communities as outlined in our Constitution. Chairperson of the House, on June 2nd, 1976, in the Rand Mail newspaper, Professor Chris Barnard writes, and I quote, "Put a rope around a man's neck, tie the knot next to his ear, fasten his wrist behind his back, and drop him in the distance, just less than 2 meters. If you have not botched it by miscalculating the length of the drop or the strength of the rope, you'll achieve several things at once. The man's spinal cord will rupture at the point where it enters the skull. The electrochemical discharge will send his limbs falling in the cortex dance. Eyes and tongue will start from the facial under the assault of the rope, and his bowels and bladder may simultaneously void themselves to swell the legs and drip onto the floor. Unless, of course, you are an efficient hangman who has thoughtfully fitted your subject with a nappy or a rubber pants. It may be indeed quick, we don't know, as none has survived to vouch for it. We make assumption that the dance macro is but a reflection of disconnected nervous system, that the protruding eyes and tongue and the contact feature are mere reaction to the pressure of the corded battery, that the massive trauma of the neck tissue and spinal columns does not register in that area of human psyche where Harrow dwells. That is certainly far from clean is offensively evident to those entrusted with the removal of the body from obscene dangling at the rope's end, or the doctors charged with checking for a heartbeat. If the pulse is still there, and often is, justice is mercilessly pursued. The body remains hanging, and the medical officer may wait another 10 minutes before the final test shows that the law has been served, close quote. All of these happened at the gallows of the infamous Pretoria prison, when prisoners took their last 52 steps of their lives from prison cells to the gallows. Chairperson, implementing measures to strengthen law enforcement agencies is crucial as we rebuild and strengthen the public sector through various legislative interventions. President Ramaphosa has impressively moved quickly to implement recommendations of the State Capture Commission report in relation to building the capacity of the justice system in the country. As the African National Congress, we applaud President Ramaphosa's efforts to establish an agile and resilient investigative directorate, fully equipped with both human resource and modern technologies. Over the past few months, the SIU has been extensively crisscrossing the country, carrying out search and seizures in nearly all three spheres of the government, in line with President Ramaphosa's signed proclamation. As the African National Congress, we alone in this August House had faith and confidence that the Generation Operational Recovery Plan will result in improved electricity supply for both domestic and commercial use, ultimately ensuring that our economy functions better. And we were not wrong. We anticipate that the Generation Operational Recovery Plan will contribute to a potential of 2% growth in our country's economy. Honorable Chairperson, as the African National Congress, we welcome Minister Godongwa's announcement that his department is developing a fuel price intervention plan. This plan aims to reduce cost of petrol and consequently alleviate the high cost of living that have adversely affected the working class and the poor. And in conclusion, Chairperson, we said this before and we are saying it again. We're not going to allow clowning in this house. Remember that when you put a clown in a palace, the clown does not become a king, but the palace becomes a circus. Honorable Badenhorst needs to read a lot of political, micro and macroeconomic material for him to understand the epoch that we are in. Standing here when the president is around is not going to help him. In fact, it will reduce him to non-entity. We are watching and listening to you very carefully. If you speak from the point of privilege, Chair, you will most definitely sound like Honorable Boshoff, who chose to ignore that in the past 30 years, the rule of law applies to everyone, whereas in the 400 years of minority rule, anything and everyone who was seen to threaten the status quo was hanged or murdered by the regime of terror. She will not speak about the murders visited on poor black and colored farm workers by their racist white bosses, because simply to them, they do not exist and they are not human beings. Honorable Billy, unfortunately your premier has left. But if ungrateful was a person, you'll be a perfect fit. You are sitting here on the ticket of KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Legislature, yet you seem to be very ashamed of it. You are trying very, very hard to please your handlers. And the sooner you decide to be yourself, the sooner your potential will shine. To the coming together of the wounded, the MKP, remember, people who live in glass houses should never throw stones. I see that the presence of the president today overwhelmed you to a point that you forgot to greet President Zuma, like you always do. You take this podium and speak of corruption when you are led by the most corrupt individual this country has ever seen. When you have an opportunity to have a discussion with him, ask him about Aurora Empowerment Systems and Kulubusi Zuma. To those who voted for MKP, they did so without the knowledge that it's a resurrection of Zuma's cabal in the likes of Lucky Montana, Brian Molefe, Siabonga Gama, and lately Busimu Kwebani, Jimmy Manyi, and others. They did not know that they will be led by VPS lootist and pickpocketer in the form of Floyd Shibam, who, by the way, has a serious problem with people who lead by appointment as opposed to being elected. Show me anyone within the National High Command of MKP who has any decency, and I will vote for them. Your members are in court today due to the extortion that is taking place in your party, and you come here and you tell us about the corruption. As for the Red Berets, the EFF, again, you forgot to greet your CIC, your one and only, the only man who matters in your life. Instead, you stood here and punched above your weight. Issues of developmental state are far beyond your comprehension. Your politics is of insults and chaos. Maybe we should remind you that in the EFF, Honorable Creek, when you find your voice, you are out. We have been consistent on that message, that once you find your voice, you are out. Very soon, and I'm saying it to you today, mark it, very, very soon, they will be accusing each other about their academic qualifications. You'll come back to me. Ask us, Member Krike, who's leaving now before the conference, and they will tell you. And we'll equally tell you who's going to leave immediately when your national conference is done. Member of the EFF, you should have asked your CIC to sponsor a few points for you to come here and talk, because today you are really out of your depth. Chair, as I sit down, as the ANC, we are like a book. Most of you here see us or see our cover. The minority read only the introduction. Many believe those who criticize us, and few will ever get to know our content, because you already have your preconceived perception about the mighty African National Congress. Thank you, Chair.